Hello and welcome to my episode 43 of my Stoney Plays video blog. My name is Andre and today I want to talk to you about the Realmgate Rumble tournament in Rostock, which was yesterday on Saturday the 17th of November 2018. And I want to start with the results. And they are online on T3, so the German tournament tabletop site. And obviously I won, yay! And I have the trophy here. So quite happy about this. There were a lot of really good games, a lot of really nice painted armies. I played the second, third, and fourth player of the overall result. So yeah, and my first game was against Benjamin, who played Stormcast Eternals. And yeah, so how this worked out was the person who transferred the money first could pick of the table with all the generals, his general obviously, and one other general he wanted to play against. And this was Andreas, who finished second overall, and he picked the Maw-Crusher of Bengt. And so the first game was Iron Jaws versus Free People. Then the second pick was of one of the Death players, either Martin or Matthias, who picked the other one. So the first game was Death versus Death and 8 gravesites. Like, I watched it at round 4 or so, and like no unit was off the table. Yeah, another crazy game. So I had to choose between the Seraphon, the Sylvaneth, and the Stormcast, and I picked the Stormcast just out of curiosity. I've never really played against a competitive Stormcast list, and I guess Benjamin was one of the locals there who I met before the tournament. I was there quite early. I went to Rostock the day before by train, slept in a hotel. Yeah, so I talked already up front to him, so I just picked him for my first game. Yeah, and then we come to the second image, probably, which is this. This is how the deployment worked out. So obviously he's Stormcast, so he can, for each unit he's set up on the table, he can deep strike another unit. He has a formation, so he has way less drops than me. He starts putting up his, if you look here, his evocators. Behind there are his sequitors. Here are his other evocators. And one drop was his sequitors, another 5-man unit, which he put into the ceiling. So since this is the game where we had like 3 objectives on each side, like 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. I didn't want him to deep strike behind me, so I placed a long line of 30 witch elves in the back, so this one, so he can't really deep strike behind my line. And I placed another unit of 30 witch elves up front, so this is sort of my screen, because I know he has the Stormcast chamber with which he can like move 6 inches pre-game. He has a Knight Heraldor, so he can run and charge. So there will be a first turn charge no matter what. And yeah, then he had to charge with everything into my first Witch Elf unit, which then will go away. And hopefully with the counter charge I can like evaporate most of his units. This was my plan. He then picked to go first. And does exactly sort of as expected. Here you see already his evocators, the 10-man unit up front, and he's moving his another evocator unit on cats towards my line. What I didn't have really in my mind is that half of these evocators have this staff with 2-inch reach. So this was a bit of a risky move from my side. I placed my my snakes directly 3 inches behind the front line, so they can countercharge, because I can activate in the hero phase and directly countercharge with them, and then like hit him 2 times with this unit. I placed my witches here between the cauldron and the snakes, 2 of them, so they can reach, so another 3-inch reach to the back of the base of the front line. So if this would survive, or he had given me first turn, I can like buff them with Witch Brew, but wasn't necessary. And I placed my cauldron again 3 inches off the back of my of the Witch Elf unit, so the cauldron was not really reachable for him. This was risky, especially because what I didn't really had in mind at this point was that his evocators have this 3-inch reach mortal wound thing at the end of their combat phase. So go to the next image. This is the same picture from the other side. Here you see his sequitors guarding his main objective. He moved his Gryph-hound towards here, the other objective which he burned in the first round. Then he placed 5 sequitors over here to guard his second home base. So since he burned his with his Gryph-hound his first objective, he really had to capture one of my objectives. Here you see my Witch Elf unit is already completely deleted. My his general piled in against the Witch Elves, which I really didn't expect. He like crashed his flasks to do some mortal wounds on the Witch Elves, and his evocators stayed, at least one of them went into 3 inches of my snakes, and he unleashed his, like, I guess he on average 10, but he rolled 12 mortal wounds on the snakes. So there were some casualties here, but not that many. I piled against him and did already some minor damage, activated my hero phase, activated them in my normal phase. So the main point where I was a bit lucky is behind this mountain there is an objective marker, and I didn't have that many, if any, models in 5 and 6-inch range of the center of the marker, but his charge was too short, so he couldn't reach my other objective and couldn't burn it. This was lucky, but it was a long stretch. I guess he had to roll a 10 or so to reach it. Okay. Next picture you see is again sort of the same state, and this is already a turn later. So my back Witch Elf unit had nothing to do anymore, so I piled them in against the evocators. My 20 unit, which was placed behind this mountain, there was another 20 unit. They moved over onto this mountain plateau here and reached to kill his scroll wizard girl. Yes. So his evocators were gone. He had both units, like the cats and the normal 10 unit 10-man block. His general died. His lord with the big wings, the one that gives rerolls of hit to 1, died. My harpies came down through 5 spears onto his here. Probably it's hard to tell, but in this gap you already see one of the sequitors. I killed at least one of the sequitors, rolled a 4-up with my harpies, and so I could burn his objective. So there was only my objectives and his central objective left. Next round I guess I got the double. So my harpies moved back to my objective since he still had 5 sequitors in the air. My Medusa went up there, so I had 5 persons there, but then I decided if he makes the charge he might burn it, so I decided to burn it, and we only had the 2 main objectives left. But as you see already here, my witches already reach over towards his sequitors, his 10 sequitors guarding his home objectives, and my snakes made another move and charged his sequitors, which they close to deleted. And with this, the game was very much done. I was up front. There was no way for him to get to my home objective because I completely surrounded it with my 30 witch elf block. So there was no way for him to getting into 6 inches of them. My snakes were all around of his objective, his last objective in his phase. So and in the end he only deleted my 1 witch elf unit, which was set up as a screen. So as I said, this army is good to like bash or other armies that don't have a screen and don't know what they are doing. But if you set up your screen right, this first turn charge armies usually will end up not winning a lot of games from my experience. So it was a like 16-1 win for me, I guess. Then there was the lunch break. And in the lunch breaks I looked at the other victors. So the Free People won against the Iron Jaws, obviously one of the Death players won, and the Seraphon won against the Sylvaneth. So my pick would have been to play next the Seraphon, but unluckily for me I got drawn against the Free Peoples, and this was from my side especially a bad matchup, because now we played from the short table edges, as you see, and in the first mission we deployed 18 inches away. This is 24 inches away, and the last game would have been again 18 inches away. So this was the first not so optimal thing. Next thing was we both had 10 drops, as I already knew, and he won the roll-off for picking a side. So what would have been really great for me is like putting my witches behind here so they would not have been seen by his archers, and especially his Luminarch, which you probably can guess is somewhere up here right now. And this Luminarch is like on paper really good, hits on a 3, wounds on a 3, -2 I guess, 6 damage flat. So this thing can like delete 1 hack a turn. So what I did was I placed my hacks behind this one and my Medusa, and the other hacks behind that one, so he couldn't really see them. And I placed my cauldron in terrain next to my witches, so it would have been -1 to hit and would have had a 3-up save. Yeah. So he made a scout move with his bowman. Quite a good unit with a scout move. I really like these units. We rolled, and the topmost objective was the one that would have been worth 3 points. And of course he gave me first turn. So I'm facing up like I will not make a first turn charge, and then I probably get a double turn against me. And needlessly to say, I really didn't like the lookout for this. So I decided to make a bold move Yeah, this is again the same thing from a different angle, and he really deployed very well from my point of view. Like what I expected a less experienced player to do is like move up with the Griffons or so, and leave me a charge on the Griffons, so that afterwards I could pile in against his Imperial foot soldiers, because at the end of the charge phase, this is not at the end of the pile-in. At the end of the charge phase, if there is a unit within 3 of this Imperial foot soldiers, like his screen, then all of his 30 crossbowmen and his other 30 crossbowmen for this screen could fire a double shot volley, like 60 shots. And if you had them buffed, they hit on 3s, wound on 3s, so 30 wounds coming my way, roughly. And this can delete like or really hurt a Witch Elf unit, especially if I cannot activate them first. So and why it was bad that this marker was picked is all my 230 blocks were deployed on this side, because I wanted to make progress mainly on this side, because I liked it more here, because here the big building would have blocked a lot of line of sight from his archers to shoot on me when I would be somewhere around here. So here there were only 20 witches and the snakes who cannot run and charge. So my bold move was, as you probably see here already, like here I'm still completely at the edge of the 24-inch line. So I just moved back a bit. So like, wait, wrong. Here you see my cards lying on the 24-inch line, so I moved back a whole card length, so he couldn't reach me in first turn, and even if he moved in second turn, he couldn't reach me too. And this is exactly what happened. I got to pick I rolled a runoff for the second turn, gave it to him. He again moved up and couldn't shoot at me. So I took him 2 turns of shooting against me. So this really, like, when you think about it, you have 5 turns and 2 turns you can't shoot on anything. So I like reduced his damage to 60%. And this, from my point of view, was key. I still scored some points because, as you see here, my harpies came down exactly where this big block is, this big objective for 3 points, and I scored it. So I had 3 points. He moved up and scored like all of the objectives, of course, so I was 2 points down. And this is at the this is during his second turn, so he obviously completely deleted my 80 points units of harpies with the shooting. Yeah, but who cares? Then I guess I won the roll-off again for turn 3, so I took the double, and with this I really all played out sort of like I had planned. Sadly, the bottom objective was again picked, and I made the charges up here against his bowman and his big unit. What I did wrong here is I forgot to build a trail not only back to the hag here, but also into 7 inches of the cauldron. So instead, and I moved them after the charge, which I did. I moved my unit not completely within 18, so instead of having a 5-up armor, 5-up feel no pain, I ended up with a 6-up armor, 6-up feel no pain, and therefore he like deleted my whole 30 block of witches in the counterfire, because when I charge his Imperial foot soldiers and all of his crossbowmen are within 12 completely, which they obviously were. He can like give counterfire at the end of the charge phase. He also, what I completely forgot, tried to counter charge me here. He wrote for this only 1d6. I have not found the rules why it's only 1d6. I would say it's 2d6, but he wrote only 1 because some strange rule. and didn't make it, luckily, because otherwise he charges me at the end of the charge phase. This is my charge phase. Even though he charged then, he could still give counterfire with this unit, which I was not really aware of at this point in time. So I made the charge with the two big units here. They got really hurt by the counterfire, but I delete sort of his, this again at the same point in time. Yeah, as you see here, his whole screen is gone. The Griffin piles and his general piles in. And another thing I didn't really knew at this point in time is he has a 2-up save because of his Warlord trait, and he has a shield. So it took my witches without Mind Razor, which is far off here, so out of reach, quite a lot of time. So in his back, in his turn, he deleted my 20 block of witches, and I'm still fighting against his general on the other side. Luckily now, the 3-point objective was on my side, so I took it, and he couldn't keep it, and he only got scored this one, because the middle one was still in my hands because of the many snakes around here. And so this was sort of the end of round 3, and at this point we only had 20 minutes left, and for me it was obvious that we are not going to make a 4th turn in time. And I played already for this, so I scored 2 times the max, which is 10, and he scored 5 and 1 here, which is 6, so I would have won at this point. But then the tournament organizer said, yeah, start your 4th turn. You have some more minutes. And this was really tense then, because I didn't expected this. If I would have expected it, probably I would have charged with my snakes. So it was just the easy play, because what happens if he really does a lot of damage in his counterfire? Maybe he wipes the snakes. So this would have been really devastating for me then. And now it's a close game, because the witches still fight with his general. I can't pile in over to his crossbowman, but they can shoot at me. So this is already the last picture. It ended up like I'm in the next turn. The most valuable objective was again up here, but my snakes moved up there with all their bodies. I moved my cauldron next to this hut here to have a lot of, have him at the middle objective and block it off. Yeah, and I scored again all the objective, and he couldn't score everything. And after the 5th turn, he sort of deleted a lot of my snakes, all of my witches here except probably 3 or 4. So it looked really good for him, but we were already over time then. He still had his 60 crossbowman, but he would have won the game, I guess, but the time was over, so I secured the victory, and it was really, really well played from him, I would say. Especially since 3 people are probably not that well known of a good army. But obviously, from my point of view, they are, if you know how to play them, which he did. And therefore, a really, really hard game from my side. But with this, I knew that from all of the other winners, who had won, the Undead and the Seraphon, I had less fear going into the final. And the Seraphon took the victory against the Undead. So my last game was against the Seraphon onto their home table. Like as you see, his bases are modeled quite heavily with small, yeah, green plants, whatever is on there. But I still felt here quite confident because he started out with only 60 bodies in there in his skinks, and then 3 big monsters, Aslan, 2 of the small skink heroes, the banner bearer, and 6 of the Croxigors, which you see here deployed. And knowing this, from my point of view, the only thing that I really feared were the Croxigors, because they can really do a lot of damage and kill one witch unit in a turn. All the other stuff really just is annoying from my point of view. So my plan was to like get rid of the Croxigors and then just overwhelm him with bodies on like especially as you see he had his castle here. So this objective here was only lightly guarded by 10 skinks. So if a 30 block of witches can like charge them, and this should be an easy win on this side. So if I can hold on to this one and probably take the middle one sometimes, it should work out for me. What then I guess his first mistake was, and he said he had never played against daughters, which obviously then is lack of experience, because this is one of the top tier armies and you probably should think about how you would play against him. So he picked the first turn, and this I think was his first mistake. Why? He could have like moved his screen a bit more back to give me longer charges and play for a double turn. This is the reason why you don't take the first turn. You have the chance for a double turn into a 2. And if not, you still have the chance for a double turn into a 3, which are the most significant double turns that are up there, from my point of view. So he moved his first small armored monster up here, and they are really annoying. So this is my first turn then. As I already said, my first witch unit of 30 moved up here to scare the skinks of the objective, which worked out perfectly. And then I decided I only want to offer him 1 screen unit to countercharge. And this is the one that gets buffed with everything. They had up Mind Razor, Exploding Sixes, Sacrament of Blood, Blessing of Cain, like everything worked, luckily for me. Mind Razor doesn't do that much in this matchup because he has Bravery 10 with everything. So, so what I then did was charge this skink unit and this skink unit and hope for the double to pile in against the Croxigors. Probably this unit flees, who knows. But I have Blessing of Cain and a full buffed unit of witches here, which should weather his first counter charge. And later on I can move in my 20 unit, which screens currently my snakes. Yeah, what happened then is you probably see best here. The Croxigors, he gets the second turn, he picks it and charges with his Croxigors into my 30 block of witches, which had deleted his 2 units of skinks. And with this, he now is with the Croxigors in my witches, but he only manages to kill 14 of them only. And only, yeah. Probably they all should have died, but with a 5-up, 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 it didn't work out for him. So I get the bottom of turn 2, I activate my command ability and fight with the Witch Elves that are still sort of fully buffed in the next round. against his Croxicores, pile in against a lot of his small characters and his LAN, and kill just a lot of stuff. But this is, I guess, his turn 3. He teleport, or his turn 2, I don't know. He teleports his small Razordawn, one of him, back here, and tries to charge into my center to have this mortal wound thing going off, where he can pick a unit and roll a lot of dice, and each dice that he rolls is then assigned as a mortal wound to the unit that was given this number. But he fails the charge. My snakes charged his Razordawn, and it took them, I guess, at least 3 combat phases, which is really, really hard. And here, I guess my main error was that one of his small skink heroes gives out the reroll of armor saves. And I measured it and tried to think about moving my harpies in already at this point and kill one of his characters here in the middle, but he had everything like good screened out, so I have only 3 inches, like 9 inches away, and 12-inch reach with the spears to throw. So I couldn't do this, and I probably did not assign enough attacks when I piled in with my witches here against this one hero, so he had him for another turn. This is the one hero from my point of view you have to kill, because the Razordawns, which you had 2 of, one here and one here, have 3-up armor, ignoring rend, and re-rolling then. And re-rolling 3 unrendable is like really, really bad. Like, you can't kill this thing. And he has a 4-up against mortal wounds too, so it's horrible to kill this, even with witch elves. So witch elves, from my point of view, are currently one, if not the best unit against targets that require a lot of attacks to take down, which would be exactly an unrendable opponent. But even they didn't manage to kill the Razordawn. Yeah, so this is my next turn. Like this 20 unit tries, like the unit takes here heavy losses of the witches. So I decide to move my 20 block into this fighting zone, as you see here, and catch some of his heroes, which were positioned in this area here. Yeah, here. Still, this Razordawn is not killed, even though my Cauldron and a lot of witches try to kill it. Yeah, but at this point, I guess everything was decided, because I, as you see here, had some skirmishes with some skinks. He summoned up, but I kept this objective, I kept this objective, I kept my other home objective. I was always in the majority around the center objective, so he always only scored his back objective, and I constantly scored a lot of points, and he was really, I guess, overwhelmed that the 30 witches fully buffed up defensively, like weathered the attack of his Cruxigors, and then they return with the attacking in the hero phase, like deleted so much of his stuff. And yeah, this is probably my conclusion. Like against the Stormcast, the snakes, to take them really, really paid off. I really liked them, even though in some matchups they don't do that much, but in some matchups you really, really need them. Yeah, even though like in the second game, obviously 30 witches would have been much better, because running and charging, and they are just too slow at some points, the snakes. Yeah, the rest, I would say, of my army all worked according to plan, as I had tested it. So 3 major victories for me, since we were only 8 players, As I said, I won the tournament, and especially I have played against the second player, which was the Andreas, as the Free People's player. I played against the third ranking player, which is the Stormcast player, Benjamin, and his brother, who played the Seraphon. Overall, I would say it was really a nice tournament. Like, everything went totally smooth. The pairing, there were no big rule discussions. Nobody was tense or something like this. It was a friendly atmosphere. The location was great. Like, really cool tournament. The only thing I would have hoped is for more players. Especially if there was one Beastclaw player signed up for it, but he didn't show up. So sadly, I was not able to roll against the Beastclaw, which I still like to do, since obviously some people who went to the Leipzig tournament really think Beastclaw are a really good army, and I still don't think so. So if you are a Beastclaw player who thinks his army is really great and you live in the Berlin area, you can just comment below this video, and I really would like to have a game with you. Usually on Friday evenings I'm in the Games Workshop 2 Berlin, but I still can come to your favorite location, probably another Games Workshop, since we have 4 of them now, in Berlin on a Saturday. If you like, I would really see a match against a good and well played and thought out Beastclaw army, because I still don't think that they would have a chance at the top tournament levels. So please challenge me. So this was a short episode, which was not sort of announced or planned. I can have a short look if there are any okay, so yeah, no comments so far here, which is probably not that unexpected, since I didn't announce this live stream. As I said, there will be further content, and there will be some content in German in the future, but no plans for when for now. So thank you for watching. Sign up for further upcoming Age of Sigmar tournaments. I hope to see you at some tournaments, and more fun with wargaming for you, hopefully. See you.